Okay, so we are starting with phosphorus in today's class. Phosphorus is the fifth element of the period 3, right? It is represented by P, as we know that every element is going to react with, in this chapter, we are going to talk about the reaction of every element with water, right? So first of all, I need to write over here the reaction with water, and then we did with oxygen as well. So after this reaction with oxygen, right, and at last we did a reaction with halogens and especially chlorine. So over here as well, we will react it with chlorine as well, reaction with chlorine. So these three reactions of phosphorus we need to discuss in today's class. So let's start with reaction with water. If you talk about the reaction of phosphorus with water, so bacho, there is no reaction, right? Phosphorus cannot react with water or even with steam, no reaction. So you can say that no reaction with water or steam, right? But definitely when you react it with oxygen, so it will burn and produce what? It can produce two types of compounds. It can produce two different compounds. For example, if you are reacting phosphorus with oxygen, it can even produce what? Phosphorus trioxide, right? It can produce what? Sorry, you can say this phosphorus trioxide, not tri, my bad. It is phosphorus trioxide, right? Because this is oxidation state, right? So this is phosphorus trioxide. Tri का मतलब होता है तीन ऑक्सीजन एटम आ गए इसके अंदर, ठीक है ना? This is not three atoms over here. We have 6 atoms of oxygen over here. So over here, this oxidation state of phosphorus is 3. If you need to find out, so you can find out P4O6 is equals to 0, and each oxygen is -2. So when -2 into 6 will be -12. When go over there, it will be +12. And each phosphorus is now having what? 3+ oxidation state. So that is why the name of this compound is phosphorus trioxide. And also, if I need to balance this, so it will be like we need to write 3 over here, right? And also, phosphorus can react with oxygen in this way that they can form even what? Phosphorus pentaoxide. Phosphorus pentaoxide. And for the balancing, you can write 5 over here, right? The same situation over here if you talk about the oxidation state, and phosphorus is having +5 oxidation state over here, right? And if you talk about observation of the reaction, so when phosphorus catches fire, it will give you white flame. So you can say that burn with white flame, burn with white flame. This will be the observation of this reaction, right? Or you can say that cloud of white smoke, cloud of white smoke, right? Then if you talk about reaction with chlorine, again the same situation over here as well. Phosphorus can react with chlorine in 2 different ways, and definitely it will produce 2 different compounds as well. When phosphorus reacts with chlorine, it can react with 6 molecules of chlorine to form what? 4PCl3, and this is known as what? Phosphorus 3 chloride. Phosphorus 3 chloride. Again, I was like try, but I don't want to use try over here. We need to use what? Phosphorus 3 oxide. This is actually oxidation state. Then even phosphorus can react with 10 molecules of chlorine to give phosphorus pentachloride. Pentachloride PCl5, right? So for the balancing, you can add 4 over here. It will be balanced, right? This is what? Phosphorus pentachloride, right, Bacho? So you can remember these things, right? मैंने यहाँ नाम नहीं लिखा, आप यहाँ लिख सकते हैं phosphorus pentaoxide, right, Bacho? And if you talk about the observation of this, so you can remember the few things over here. If you talk about the observation, so actually PCl3 is a colorless liquid, right? So you can say that it is a colorless fuming liquid. It is a colorless fuming liquid. If you talk about PCl5, so it is actually off-white solid. It is actually off-white solid. Right, but just these are observations that you can remember for phosphorus reaction with chlorine, right? Then few compounds that are forming over here, we need to talk about their properties as well. So over here we have oxides of phosphorus and we have chlorides of phosphorus. So we need to discuss about the properties of these compounds as well, right? So if you talk about first of all oxides of phosphorus, so it will be like this. We need to discuss the properties of phosphorus oxides. Now I'm not using 3 or 5 oxidation state over here because I'm going to talk about the properties of both together, right? So both are actually simple molecular structures because they are covalent compounds, right? So they both are simple molecular structures. Both are simple molecular structures, right? They both have low melting point, low boiling points, and low densities, insoluble in water, etc. These are the properties of simple covalent compounds, right? Some of the compounds deviate with these properties as well, and phosphorus oxides are few of them that can deviate the physical properties of simple covalent compounds, right? So over here, phosphorus oxide can dissolve in water to give acidic solution. Okay? So you can say that can dissolve in water to give acidic solution, right? देखें जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल हाइड्रोजन गैस है, जैसे आपके पास नाइट्रोजन गैस है, आपके पास और बहुत सारे कोवेलेंट कंपाउंड्स हैं. Mostly they are insoluble in water, but few of them are polar covalent compounds due to the difference in electronegativities, so they are soluble in water. So oxides of phosphorus are actually having a difference of electronegativities between phosphorus and oxygen. That is why they have few partial charges over there, and due to such partial charges, these compounds are actually soluble in water. So that is why they are going to dissolve in water, right? Phosphorus oxides are actually going to dissolve in water, and definitely we have two different phosphorus oxides. One is phosphorus trioxide and one is phosphorus pentaoxide, right? Both can dissolve in water. Both can dissolve in water and will give you two different acids, right? There's one produce H3PO3 and this one produce H3PO4. Both are acids, and you can say that both are very strong acids, and they have a pH near 1.5, right? They are having pH near 1.5, so they are very strong acids, right? And if you talk about properties of chlorides, so they are also something like properties of chlorides, and I'm again not using the specific oxidation state over here, properties of phosphorus oxide, because I'm going to talk about them together, right? Chlorides की अगर आप properties की बात करो तो बच्चों simple molecular structure है ये भी, again they are also simple molecular structure because ये भी आपके पास covalent compounds हैं, तो ये भी आपके पास क्या है, simple molecular structures हैं, right? And they both can dissolve in water as well. PCl3 and PCl5 both dissolve in water, and give you acidic solution. And give acidic solution, it will provide you acidic solution as well. How they provide acidic solution, you need to remember this because it is very important for the past papers questions. So if you talk about PCl3, when they dissolve in the molecules dissolve in water, so they will produce what? A combination of acids. One is H3PO4 and the second one is HCl. So you can see this is actually a very perfect combination of two different acids, and both are strong, so the pH is near 1, right? Same as that is if you talk about PCl5. So when you dissolve PCl5 in water, so it requires 4 molecules of H2O. When they dissolve in water, they will produce what? H3PO4, H3PO4 plus HCl, right? So it will produce the combination of phosphoric acid and hydrochloric acid. And again, they both are very strong acids. The pH of this solution will be near to 1, right? But so this is very important part of your exams. You need to discuss, you need to learn these things. They are very, very important.
चलिए PCl3 के आगे क्या लिखा है?
PCl3 के आगे कहाँ? PCl3 plus water. PCl3 plus water.
नहीं सर, ऑब्जर्वेशन वाले हैं.
This is off white solid.
PCl3 के आगे सर वो कलरलेस, आगे क्या लिखा है?
Colorless fuming solid. This is colorless fuming. So you can take a picture of this. This is very important one about phosphorus. All the reactions, all the properties are very important for short questions answers in paper 2. So
colorless fuming liquid है या solid होगा?
Colorless fuming liquid और नीचे वाला लिखा हुआ है off white solid.
ठीक है सर.
ठीक है. So the next one is we are moving towards sulfur. Let's talk about sulfur now. This is the 6th element of the period 3, sulfur. So if you talk about sulfur, आपके पास सल्फर का सिंबल क्या होता है बच्चों? It is S, right? So we are talking about sulfur over here. Again, we talk about reaction with water first, then oxygen, then chlorine. Reaction with water, then reaction with oxygen, and then reaction with chlorine. Reaction with chlorine. Again, this is actually the element which cannot react with water. So there is no reaction with water. There is no reaction with water. And if you talk about reaction with oxygen, so definitely we know that when sulfur burns in the presence of oxygen, it will form what? Sulfur dioxide. And sulfur dioxide can further oxidize to sulfur trioxide, and this is part of contact process. This is used in contact process for the formation of what? For the formation of sulfuric acid. This is actually reversible reaction. This is actually reversible reaction, and in this reaction you are going to use vanadium pentoxide as a catalyst, and the temperature should be high, 450 degrees centigrade, and the pressure is also high. It is 2 to 3 atmosphere, right? So this is the conditions. These are the conditions for contact process, and sulfur. This is only for the formation of sulfur trioxide, right? So sulfur can burn in the presence of oxygen to give sulfur dioxide, and sulfur dioxide can further oxidize to give what? Sulfur trioxide. Then if you talk about the reaction with chlorine, so the reaction with chlorine is very simple. The sulfur is going to react with chlorine to give you what? S2Cl2. S2Cl2, and this is actually orange liquid. So you can say that observation is orange liquid form. Yeah, produced. If you talk about sulfur dioxide or sulfur trioxide, so the flame for sulfur burning is pale blue. So you can say that the observation for this is pale blue flame. Pale blue flame as well. These are the things that you need to understand about the reaction of sulfur with water, oxygen, and chlorine. But if you talk about the compounds over there, actually we have compounds like sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide over here. So we need to talk about some properties of sulfur dioxide and trioxide as well. So let's talk about the properties of sulfur oxides. Properties of sulfur oxides. If you talk about the properties of sulfur oxides, so these are again covalent compounds, so they are simple molecular structures. They are simple molecular structures. Simple molecular structures. Sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide both are simple molecular structures. Sulfur dioxide is a gas, right? So you can say that sulfur dioxide is colorless gas. It is a colorless gas. And if you talk about sulfur trioxide, so it is a white solid with low boiling point. It is a white solid with low boiling point. Low boiling point and low melting point, right? And both can dissolve in water. Both are soluble in water to give acidic solution. Both are soluble in water to give acidic solution. Right, so if you talk about sulfur dioxide, when sulfur dioxide dissolves in water, it will give you sulfurous acid, H2SO3. When you talk about SO3, when SO3 dissolves in water, it will give you sulfuric acid, H2SO4, right? And both are strong acids, and the pH of both the acids are 1, right? But these are very important. And if you want to know some other informations regarding sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide, they both are acidic in nature, right? They both are acidic in nature, and they can produce, if you talk about the source of these gases, so they can produce by volcanic eruption. Naturally, they can produce in the atmosphere by volcanic eruption or fossil fuel combustion. This is the source. One more, fossil fuel combustion से भी ये बन सकती हैं, क्योंकि fossil fuels जमीन से निकलते हैं, and it has a traces of sulfur, and we use fossil fuels without being you can say that separated or purified. So sulfur content may be there, so it can burn and produce sulfur dioxide. And what is the problem regarding these gases? The problem is actually acid rain. They cause acid rain. So this is a problem for these gases. And also these, if we talk about sulfur dioxide, so we know that sulfur dioxide can further oxidize to sulfur trioxide. So it is also reducing agent. It is also reducing agent. So you can test this gas by using acidified potassium manganate. Acidified potassium manganate. And we know that what will be the observation of this? It will be purple to colorless. The purple color of potassium manganate is going to colorless, right? Because it is reducing agent. So it can change the color of oxidizing agent. And also sulfur dioxide is a very useful gas as well. It is used as a food preservative as well. It can be used for food preservation, right? So it is very important to remember these informations are quite important for the past paper questions, and you need to learn all these informations. Is that right, Vichu?
Yes, sir.
चलें इसकी पिक्चर ले लें आप लोग. Then we will talk about chlorine, the last of this group, or sorry, this period. Let's talk about something chlorine, and chlorine is very short here. We can discuss this in in a short time, and it is chlorine, which is the last member of the period 3. We are talking about chlorine reaction with water. If you talk about reaction with water, so definitely it can react with water because we use this in swimming pools as well, but there is no reaction with oxygen, right? So reaction with oxygen is nowhere. So reaction with oxygen, no reaction. And one more reaction over here, which is the most important reaction, is actually a reaction with sodium hydroxide. Reaction with sodium hydroxide is the most important reaction of chlorine that you need to remember. And this is the very consistent part of exam questions. So first of all, if you talk about the reaction with water, so when you dissolve chlorine into the water, it is going to form HCl, and this is a reversible reaction, HCl and HClO, and this is actually the bleaching agent which is used to kill the bacteria, right? And if you talk about reaction with oxygen, so there is no reaction, right? And the last one is a reaction with sodium hydroxides. So there are two different reactions. One is with normal sodium hydroxide. When you react a sodium hydroxide with chlorine, it is actually going to form what? NaCl, NaClO plus water. NaCl, NaClO plus water. And if you talk about hot NaOH, if you talk about hot NaOH, that means you are reacting NaOH with chlorine using temperature, right? So it requires greater number of molecules of NaOH reacting with chlorine to give you what? To give you 5 NaCl and this time NaClO3, NaClO3 plus water. All right, these are the reactions that are very important. Because why they are important, you can see this over here. The oxidation state of chlorine is 0 in both of them, and over here it is -1. But if you talk about NaClO and NaClO3, so the oxidation state of chlorine over here is what? Oxygen is -2 and 3. Oxygen over there is -6. When -6 is over there, it will be +6. And sodium is +1. When it goes over there, it will be -1. So chlorine over here is +5. Over here, chlorine is 5. And if you talk about NaClO, so it will be NaCl 2 plus and Cl is 1 plus. So over here it is 1 plus. So just look at over here, chlorine itself decreasing oxidation state, that means a reduced. Chlorine itself reduced, and increasing oxidation state matlab oxidation, oxidize as well. So over here chlorine is oxidizing and reducing as well, same as it is over here. Chlorine is reducing and oxidizing as well. So the reactions in which a single species is going to be oxidized and reduced as well are termed as disproportional reactions. Are termed as proportional reactions, right, बच्चों? Are termed as disproportional reactions. स्क्रीन यहाँ से गायब हो क्यों गई? राइट, तो अगर मैं इसको दोबारा लिखूं आप लोगों के लिए, chlorine reacting with NaOH, right, forming NaCl, NaClO plus water. So just look at this equation over here. Chlorine is 0 and over here it is -1 and over here it is +1. So in this case, oxidation state is decreasing, so chlorine is reduced over here. And in this case, oxidation state is increases, so this is oxidized. So the you can say that the reaction in which a single species oxidized and reduced as well, it is known as disproportional reactions, right? These are redox reactions, and the type of redox reaction is disproportional reaction. So if examiner asks what is disproportional reaction, so you need to remember that it is actually a redox reaction in which a single species oxidized and reduced as well, right? And the second equation is also disproportional. So in this, 6 NaOH are going to react with chlorine, and they are forming what? NaCl and NaClO3 plus water. So again, over here, if you focus in this one, so it is 0 it is -1, and it is +5. So this is reduction, and this is oxidation, right? So there is also a disproportional reaction. Is that clear, Bachu? Is that clear, Bachu?
Yes, sir.
So these are actually 7 elements of the period 3.